Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Phil and Friends Sunday at 6 p.m. I got some great guests in the studio. Carmen Harring and Doctor, you told me not to call him Doctor, but I'm calling him Doctor anyway. Karl Washington is in the studio with me today. How y'all doing today?
Doing wonderful.
Thank you so much for showing up.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no time. You know,
excited to be here.
Carmen is a diva. I should have told Carmen 12 p.m. because I know she would have been on time by then.
It's CP time.
CP. Well, we're not living in the CP era anymore.
I am trying to make a change.
We're talking about racism in America today. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my guest, Carmen Harring. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
My name's Carmen Harring. I am Southern Belle from Memphis, Tennessee originally. Currently work with Phil on a few projects. Have started my own company with my best friend called July November LLC. We produce events. We have a few branding clients, and we also do web and graphic design.
Do you guys have a website now?
We do. It's JulyNovember.com.
July,
Check us out.
November, December. What is it? Say it one more time.
JulyNovember.com.
Okay. I didn't even know that.
Oh,
That's
my goodness.
Thing. Yeah, I know you guys had a company, but you guys just put on the Barry Brewer.
We had Barry on the show. In Chicago.
Thank you guys so much for hooking me up with him. I appreciate that.
He's great. I still want him to come out and actually meet you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We got to get him in the studio.
Yeah.
Karl, what's going on, brother?
You got it, man. Thanks for having me here today,
thank you so much for coming
pleasure.
on.
Yeah.
You've been in this. Karl Washington is he's a big person in L.A. Yeah. Tell them a little bit about yourself for those of you who don't know him out there, who's listening to Phil and Friends right now.
Yeah. Former state assemblyman of the 52nd district, one of the best districts in the state of California.
Oh, man, that's wonderful. I
served 3 two-year terms. I served full term in the state legislature. Then I became a state board member for the Integrated Waste Management Board for another 4 years. And
wow.
So I was up in Sacramento about roughly 10 years of my time there. And then I had been a community activist prior to that, served on Supervisor Yvonne Brackelsberg's staff as a senior deputy for her. And then I've always been preaching. I've been preaching for a very long time.
Come on, doctor. so I played that church music right on time today.
Brother. Yeah.
Come on, somebody. That's good, man. So you've actually made a difference in the community.
Yes.
Carmen, you got some good friends.
I mediated the 1992 gang truce between the Crips and Bloods in 92. Yes, I was the mediator for that gang truce.
Wow, and I know Carmen mentioned that to me as well. Wow, that's awesome. So we got to talk about that more too.
All right? He's great.
So we got two legends in the studio. We got some great people in the studio today. So you guys, we're talking about racism in America, and I want you guys to call us up at 323-293-3375. Again, the number is 323-293-3375, and you can stream us online, and of course you're doing it right now, morrismedialive.com. We want to talk to you guys, but right now I want to play a clip. This is Philando Castile's mother. A lot of you guys have known what's going on with the whole police and the people killing us left and right, but I want to play this clip so you can get started with our conversation for today.
My son would never jeopardize anyone else's gun on an officer, and the gun was not fire ready. These are some of the facts that came out in the trial, and I am so very, 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 very disappointed in the system here in the state of Minnesota, because nowhere in the world do you die from being honest and telling the truth. Now, these are some things that you need to know and recognize. There has always been a systemic problem in the state of Minnesota, and me thinking with my common sense that we would get justice in this case, but nevertheless, it never seems to fail us. The system continues to fail black people, and they will continue to fail you all. Like I said, because this happened with Philando, when they get done with us, they're coming from you, for you, and all your interracial children. Y'all are next, and you'll be standing up here fighting for justice just as well as I am. I am so disappointed in the state of Minnesota. My son loved this state. He had one tattoo on his body, and it was of the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota with TC on it. My son loved this city, and this city killed my son, and the murderer gets away. Are you kidding me right now? We're not evolving as a civilization. We're devolving. We have taken steps forward. People have died for us to have these rights, and now we're devolving. We're going back down to 1969. Damn! What is it gonna take? I'm mad as hell right now. Yes, I am. My firstborn one son died here in Minnesota. Under the circumstances, just because he was a police officer, that makes it okay. Oh, now they got free reign. He's found innocent on all counts. He's shot into a car with no regard to human life, and that's okay. Thank you, Minnesota. Thank you, Minnesota. That's all I have to say.
I wanted to play that clip because I wanted people who didn't hear his mother. And Carmen actually showed me this clip, and it was just so moving to me. Damn, what is it going to take? That was a quote from Ms. Castile. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Washington. What do you think? What will it take, actually being an assemblyman and working in that environment, what will it take for us to get some type of justice in this world where it's in America that was built to pretty much not give us justice?
Yeah.
What will it take?
It's going to take convicting these officers of taking lives, because black lives does matter.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that we have a system. And now, I hate to say it this way, but with the Trump administration and with the new attorney general that we have, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Right.
I don't see them coming with the civil rights. I believe he reduced the attorneys in the Civil Rights Department at the Attorney General's Office for the United States of America. I believe, and I know it's a chicane, but I do believe that it's going to take the prayers of the righteous, because there is no justice where there's no peace, and there's no peace where there's no justice. We are in a evolving situation to where, as she just said, if this can happen to her son who had did everything right, I mean, where is justice? Right. And so, again, there is no clear-cut answer other than they have to start convicting these officers for taking lives.
Now, we can't even get an indictment, right?
Exactly.
We can't even get an indictment.
Exactly.
So if we can even start with an indictment, then that'll change everything. Carmen, what do you think about what's going on? And I know you have a lot of viewpoints about it.
I think it's heartbreaking. And the thing is, it can happen to anybody. I worry about Karl. I worry about you. I worry about my brother. I want to be a mom one day. I want to have a son. I'm concerned.
Right.
It's a bad situation. It's a very bad situation. And people hate to hear us say it, but it's very clear that our justice system, they don't value black lives. They don't. Right. And the fact that we even have to say Black Lives Matter is a problem.
Right.
So I'm with Karl. I think we're going to have to start convicting them. But I get frustrated because I just think that I don't know how to do it, but I think we need to do something. Right. But I've been to protest, and nothing's changed.
Does that work, though? Does the protesting work? And call us up at 323-293-3375. Maybe you can shed some light with us. 323-293-3375. We're ready to take your calls. But does that work? The protest? I mean, it seems like we've been protesting forever.
We've been protesting forever.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that later. What do we do? How do we deal with it? And where do we go? Because actually, you've been in a state where you've seen laws being made. You probably made some laws, but that's obviously not in our favor.
Yeah. And again, I think what is happening also is that we as a people are becoming very clear as to our system of governments. We have the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative branches. Right. And those branches where we have legislative branches where laws are being made, they're challenged by a politically motivated Supreme Court. Right. And if it's not the Supreme Court, it's the appeals court. Now,
when it goes to, I mean, cut you off, but when it goes to the Supreme Court, is it actually justice when it comes to the Supreme Court? Because I know throughout the years we've had some type of, they're usually like bipartisan.
5-4 for
right, exactly.
Conservatives and that's the system we're in, and that's why you saw as he was exiting, President Barack Obama trying to get his appointment done, right? So it can give us some kind of leverage, so you can fight to some level to get some kind of justice. Mm-hmm. With the Supreme Court as it sits now, there is no justice, and again, we are in the same situation that we started out in, and unfortunately. We do have to come up as a people together with a solution as to how we address this. And the question is how. There's no right or wrong answer to it. We just need to come up with a formula that we can use, because if it happens to this young man,
it's going to happen.
Who said to the cop, listen, I have a gun.
In a seatbelt.
In a seatbelt. with his daughter, with a daughter in the back seat and a girlfriend on the passenger side. I have a gun, and you shoot him 7 times. It's
Did you all see the clip of him?
Oh,
from
yeah.
the cop?
Yeah, that broke my heart. Did you see the video where it's after the fact and the girlfriend and the little baby are in the car?
Yeah.
That was the video that messed me up because I said if you can sit and shoot and kill somebody in front of a 4-year-old, there's the problem here.
They just don't care.
They don't.
And that's the system. That's where they want to start. They want to start in our babies, because if they can get in our babies' heads that this is how you need to behave, it's like a new modern slavery.
New Jersey just passed a law where it said, I don't know if it was a law or something, but it was requiring students in elementary school to be taught how to interact with the police. Did you guys see that story?
I saw that.
Yeah, that's
What do
upsetting.
you guys think about that?
That's
So we got to
upsetting.
learn how to teach.
Yeah.
We're paying
that's
you. We're paying you to protect us, but we got to learn how to interact with you.
No, that's absurd.
That is absurd, right?
Yeah, that's absurd.
It is absurd, and it's gotten so ridiculous to the point that whenever you even see an officer and you see a situation with an officer, a white officer, and say a black man, you get concerned.
Right.
For instance, today at my church, my pastor's son ran his car into the gate and it ran into the fire hydrant. Okay. And so everyone came out, the firemen came out, they turned the water off, and then after the fact, here come the police. And so right away, I'm just like, let me not leave because I don't know what's going to go down because we're black.
Right.
They're black men, and it's 2 white officers.
Right. So you just don't know.
So you just don't know.
Yeah. And I've actually, so now when that happens when a white officer pulls over a black person, you see a lot of people recording now.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate we have to do that, but they've been doing it for so long.
Exactly.
And getting away with it and still getting away with it on camera.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So call us up at 323-293-3375. Again, the number is 323-293-3375. But is there a solution for us? How do we deal with it? Let me shift the conversation for a little bit. What do we need to do as African Americans? Forget them. Forget the system. Yeah. How can we start to, I guess, protect ourselves, invest in our own communities, police our own communities?
Yeah. Let me say this to you. I think that folks have already been doing that. Okay. And I want to give a shout out to all those who have begun the process, the many moms who have lost their sons, who have been organized. This is not something new for them. Across this country, people have been organizing and getting the information out, and we're still dealt with the hands we're dealt, with the cards we're dealt with. I just think that somehow, in some way, we have to get conviction on these officers. We have to get convictions.
We have to.
And they can't get away with this. They can't think that it's okay to do this and just walk away. Right. And again, I want to make sure it's abundantly clear that there are people who've been organizing and been dealing with black folk. They're doing it in your community, my community. They're doing it in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're doing it all over the land. People are organized. They have done a better job than when I started dealing with the gang troops in 1992. That has even enhance their ability to make us aware of
the
those,
awareness of it
and of the laws that exist on the book that give us our right to be able to
because a lot of people don't even know the laws.
Yes.
I mean, it's simple laws.
I think that's problematic. I think we need to educate ourselves and just make sure that we, even when we're in these kind of situations, obviously with the thing with Philando, unfortunately, it was nothing that could actually be done. But I think it was great that Diamond was strong enough to. She held it together.
She did.
She made a tape and she's been able to speak out, and I think she did great. She didn't fall apart. She was the epitome of a strong black woman.
Right, absolutely.
So,
and listen, let me say this, and then I'll move. These are the ones that we know about. What about the hundreds and thousands of the Henry Picos that I dealt with back in 1989 that was shot down like a dog in Imperial Court's housing projects? No justice for him. Cops got promoted for that. The young man out on Wilmington Avenue by a barbershop on Wilmington between the Jordan Downs and Imperial Court, shot down by the cops.
Wow.
It just disappears and go away. Ford, the young man Ford, down on 43rd or whatever it was down there.
Was this prior to Rodney King?
No, this is post Rodney King.
Post Rodney King. Wow.
Yes, this is stuff that has happened not down the years ago. Wow. These things are happening right now.
Because the first videotappe we really saw was the Rodney King, right?
Yes, that was the first. Yeah, that's the first video when we first started. same
a
video.
big VHS.
And guess what they told us? You didn't see what you saw.
Exactly.
Because they bring all these experts in and say, okay, you think you see this, but this is what's taking place. So our eyes are deceiving us.
Right.
And somehow we slept on that for a minute. Not everybody. Some folks slept on that. And I think there has to be a coordinated effort with the black preachers, the black churches. I mean, no matter what denomination, all that stuff has to go out the window. And we have to come together and say, look, enough. And we really have to elect people who wants to stand up and fight for the cause of man.
And I think that the elected officials, especially the ones in California, are really good. Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters.
Oh, they're excellent.
yeah.
But it's like the rest of them, what are y'all doing?
Yes.
Are you doing it for the money? And I'm upset with the preachers, because not you, Pastor. But there are preachers that are supposed to be. And Carmen, you grew up in a
Well, absolutely. I mean, my grandfather introduced
In Memphis.
Dr. King the night before his last speech. He actually introduced him. And so the difference that I'm seeing, and even with knowing Karl, like he's always been active in his community and tried to help people. There's been a disconnect between the preachers and the community. Everything. And I'm not judging every preacher and saying everyone's like this, but unfortunately, a lot of times now it's like people want to be pastors and preachers because they want a big church and they want to be popular and they want to be well known. And, you know, you're doing God's work. And a lot of God's work is going out and helping your people, working in our communities and making a change and connecting the dots between the churches and the communities and the people. And so I think that's lacking, and it does make you frustrated.
Right, because we have a lot of churches in the African American community.
Absolutely.
And they just go to work on Sundays, you know, and that's, I think, where preachers get a bad rep.
Yeah.
Just getting the money
And what's
not being
happening Monday
active.
through Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we get they do funerals. We get that. But we really need some activism in the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, Karl, the organization meetings that people are having, what is actually going on in these meetings? Because I know you've attended a lot of them. What is actually going on to help, community awareness?
Well, a lot of times what they're doing, they're organizing people to understand the power that they have. I think black folks, it's that slave mentality that we forget that we do possess power. And it's not only, back in the day, they started the power with the vote. You have to vote. Without your vote, you have no.
And now that's an issue because people don't think they need to vote.
Exactly.
It's like, where did this come from?
Right. It goes back around again, and it starts over and over. We have to make sure that in those meetings that the discussions are organized and that there's an agenda in place and not just people out talking. You have to have some format where you're trying to go somewhere.
Right.
And I think that the way we address law enforcement, the way we address the courts, all of our systems, probation, those systems, our parole folks, we have to make sure that we're addressing them in a proper way that says to them, we understand what you're doing, but we're looking to make a difference. And then people have to, one of the things that we have to do is be listeners and understand first, because we come with anger. And so we want to lash out even at the organizer who called the meeting. Right. And instead of saying, okay, what are we going to do to make a difference? And
I think the anger is probably warranted too. But on so many levels. We do need to listen and hear what they have to say because they're for us and not really against us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we got to be consistent with it. As soon as these murders take place, we're upset for a few months, and then it dissolves after some time. Exactly. So I think there has to become a commitment. There has to be a commitment. And we have to say, okay, we're going to set clear goals. We're going to work toward this, and we're going to be committed no matter what. We're going to keep going at this until we see a change. That's another thing that frustrates me. So a lot of times I don't think that, we discussed this the other day at work, a lot of times I don't think we have the fight in us. This generation, we don't have people who are willing to die for something. People in the past, it was like, for this I'll live, for this I'll die. We don't have that. We don't have that kind of passion. Right. We get frustrated, we get angry, we may post, we may talk about it, have a little bit of dialogue, and after that, we're done. Right.
And that's a sad thing. And I want to go back to the parole and probation. I'm going to read this one too. There is a huge discrepancy there with the parole and probation with African American. You want to touch it because I know you've had some experience in that. That system in itself is, if an African American does something and a white boy does the same crime, normally the African American gets charged with higher sentences and longer probations and things. Why how do we stop that, and what is that issue about? Is that the same thing as the police? Is that the the DA?
No,
Are they all
it's the
in
judge.
cahoots?
It's the courts.
It's the courts.
It's the courts, and we elect these judges because we don't really find. If you ever notice on a ballot, we have these judges on there, and nobody knows has no clue as to who they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they get in that office, and they determine in juvenile court or superior court what the decision would be in terms of how long you still pro. And you might remember the situation in Pennsylvania where the judge was getting paid behind the scenes from the probation
so many
system. Right,
African-Americans,
and just because they wanted to keep them in their system and keep the dollars coming in, that's happening probably not on such a large scale, but it happens.
Right.
And so,
and I heard that. Let me cut you off, but I heard that for every one person that's in jail or in the system, the state gets like $50,000 or something like that.
If not more,
$50,000 per person.
Yeah,
if not more.
Wow.
Yeah, if not more.
For putting somebody in jail. So imagine if that's what's really going on.
Yeah,
that's what's going on.
That's the system funding. That's the system funding. And again, that's how come it's important to get these folks elected to office who's going to say, no, that's not enough. That's what the Maxine Waters of the world is doing.
Right.
That's what, all of our elected officials who have been there and fighting for the cause, they're fighting to say, look, we have to make a change.
Right.
We have to change these laws.
Right. Yeah, that's where it starts.
Listen, I'll say it once again. The only way we go see retribution is they have to convict these officers for what they're doing to our people.
Convict.
They have to
convict them.
And so Carl just shared with me a couple of days ago, what's the day? Friday the 23rd, 2017, in London, Edson DeCosta, young black father, dies being detained by London police using force.
Yeah.
This was a couple of days ago. This reminds us of
ridiculous.
Sandra Bland.
Exactly.
Why are you dying being detained?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a whole. Call us up at 323-293-3375. I think everybody watching the BET Wars today. They should be listening to. That's what's wrong with people. You're not listening to stuff you need to be listening to.
There you go.
Record it.
Right, exactly. It's going to show 100 times.
See?
323-293-3375. We'll be right back with Carmen and Karl. And we're back, Phil and Friends, sponsored by The Plug Report. I am The Plug Report, so it's sponsored by me. Call us up, 323-293-3375. We're having a wonderful conversation about racism in America. We're going to switch the conversation. We're going to talk about black-on-black crime.
Yeah.
Because that's a issue in our community that we don't discuss. We understand that black-on crime is not synonymous with the, whatever they do to us, but it's an issue in our community. Karl, you mentioned that you had a gang truce back in 1992. So tell us a little bit about that and how you helped to combat the black on black issue in our community.
Well, one of the things I started out with the idea as an activist. I was tired of the killings. I grew up in the Imperial Courts housing project, and the gangs at that time was in total disarray. Violence was everywhere. Drive-bys became the order of the day, and law enforcement was enjoying it because they were able to spend money and get more money for law enforcement and keep money in the kitty for them. And I decided that something needed to take place. And it wasn't just me, but a number of our pastors and friends. Shout out to Bishop Richard Sanders of Compton, California, and Bishop John Hopkins of Linwood, California, Dr. Lovely Haynes of St. Mark Baptist Church of Los Angeles, a few of our pastors who joined in with the effort to figure out a way, as well as, God rest his soul, Pastor Mims of South Central Los Angeles. We all decided to come together. And one of the things I wanted to find out from the brothers was, how can we stop this? Right. How can we end this deadly violence and the shooting that was taking place? So we called these brothers together, both Crips and Bloods, and I met. One of the things I had on my side is that I knew most of the young men. We grew up together. One lived on this side of the tracks of Markham, and I lived on that side of Markham. But I was never in gangs, so I was one that they knew that was a neutral person in these things. And so we put them together, and it was through God. I give God all the glory and praise, because if it had not been for the Lord, none of this would have ever came to fruition. And these young men, they were there, and they sit down, and we had the conversation, and I told them we need to have a truce, and it went worldwide. And from that point on, we had an awesome opportunity to bring them together, and they concluded themselves that that Black Lives Matter, and we're taking each other's lives,
and we're doing it a lot. And I never understood the whole gang thing. It's just something that just always went over my head. I guess people try to equate it to fraternities and sororities. It's not the same. Right? It's like, oh, you're an alpha. Everybody know I'm an alpha. 06, but it's not the same. So from that, is it still going on? Is the truth still there? I mean, what is exactly the truth? We're going to stop killing each other for this short period of time so we can get something done, or?
Well, at the time when I did it was a ceasefire for a certain period of time so we can figure out what was causing it.
And the only reason I know that is because of the movie Barbershop.
Yeah.
So,
But that happened for a short period of time, but then as like anything else, but it held. And what I want people to understand, because law enforcement would contradict this, but the gang truce held over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Over 10 years. And even today, if you go to the hood where the folks are, you will see that those brothers are still having basketball games with one another. And law enforcement don't want that out because, again, it shows that, well, we don't need all these cops doing gangs and paying all these guys all this money to do it. When everyone pays taxes, and so that money should be going towards the community, building up the community, building up schools, senior centers, and things of that nature. Absolutely.
Which they don't want to focus on. Carmen, what do you think about the black-on-black crime, and how can we...
I think, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and unfortunately, I've been gone from
It's
there.
a lot. First 48?
4 years.
First 48? Like, what?
It's
I just put you out there like that.
bad.
It's horrible in Memphis. I'm just kidding. I love Memphis.
It's unfortunate. I think anytime you have a situation where people feel like there are a lack of opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Their backs are against the wall, and a lot of times they're forced to figure out what they have to do to survive.
Right.
And so, to me, it all goes back to the community. I think if we build up our communities, create opportunities for people. One of the issues I have with Memphis is if you go back, 15 years ago when I was in high school, middle school even, we had opportunities for young people. Right. A lot of those things are gone. A lot of those places are closed. Those Liberty Lands and those places where people were able to go and have their first time jobs. Right. A number of places are closed. So now you have these young people who have nothing to do. We all know that an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? Absolutely. So that's what happens. Yeah. So it all goes back to our communities, our elected officials, and all of us just getting on the same page.
And shout out to Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
Who I've never met.
Oh, my God.
But I did go to the White House last year. But he,
we were in Chicago last week and went and saw the house.
Oh, good. They let you on the, so.
Yeah, we actually went on the street.
Wow, that's crazy. I know his neighbors were like, oh, my God, some more people.
Right.
But he's investing in jobs for kids in Chicago. So a lot of the money that he's making, where people are like, say, why are you taking all this money? He's actually investing in summer jobs for kids in Chicago, because we all know Chicago is pretty bad right now with the black on black.
Yeah, he's actually building a center, some sort of center up there too. I was there, that I was told. Yeah, we were actually in Chicago last week, and it was really sad. My cousin took us around, and she was just saying she doesn't even like to ride around with the windows down.
Oh, wow.
Because she's afraid somebody will just come up to the car with the gun. Wow. It's gotten that bad.
Really? So I think some of the things we could do for our community, and I know people listen, so call us up, 323-293-3375, investing in our own. So black banking, which I'm a banker. I don't know if you guys have black banks. One United, that's where I went. So just things like that, because One United Bank, and they're not sponsoring the show, but I just want to, and other black banks, they're actually giving loans to people so they can invest in houses and businesses. And, Bank of America and Chase and all those other people, they're denying our people, so we need to how to invest in our own community. This is a black radio station, Morris Media Live. Shout out to you, Felicia.
Shout out to Morris Media.
Felicia. My landlord is black.
All right.
My car is black.
Yeah.
My hair, my gums are black.
What is the name of the grocery store in Compton?
Oh,
there's
we
a wonderful woman there.
I don't know, but she should call us up and come on the stage.
That would be awesome if she come on the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So those are just small things I think we could do in our community. What do you think, Carl? What else?
Well, again, it's deja vu. If you go back and listen to some of these conversations. We've been talking about black-on-black businesses for a long time. And here's what I say to black-on-black businesses and other people who want to be patronized: make sure you treat us right.
Make sure you treat us right.
Yeah.
You know, you go to black folks and you try to do something with them, and you say, "Okay, come fix the roof on my house,"
Right.
and they take them 7 months, and then they leave until I got to go to Africa for 2 weeks and come back. I know, I'm serious.
And it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely,
it really
it
does.
happens.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
tell them about the time you had gotten jobs for a whole host of black men.
Oh
until
yeah,
they
oh
would
yeah.
show
No,
up.
Congresswoman Maxine Waters and I had worked with the Coliseum Commission to get some jobs, and these guys were supposed to come to work, and they worked 1 or 2 days and said it was too hot.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, so
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
our
you know,
men.
it's very disappointing. And-
Well, all of us are not like that, right?
Right.
Right, absolutely.
Thank,
No, it's
thank
not.
God for you doing
Yes,
that.
yeah.
But that's horrible.
Yeah, and like I say again, it's both sides of the coin. Where if you want us to patronize you, treat us with
us right.
respect. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I stand in those soul food places, and sometimes it's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
You know how they treat the people who are buying their food from them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know, and
What's the name of those places?
I don't want to do them like that. but I do say that if you want us to patronize you, up your game. Don't come here with no foolishness.
Right.
Don't tell us you can produce something
And you can't produce
and you can't produce
Every
it.
time I go to the fried chicken soul food spot, we out of fried chicken. You having fried
Yeah.
soul food, you out of chicken.
It's
I
just
would like some greens. We don't have no greens either. Hold on.
Yeah,
Why
it's
you don't
like-
have nothing?
we gotta up our level of professionalism all the way around. We don't want to be synonymous with the foolishness.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't want to be the laughing stock. So we need
And
to.
there are a lot of good businesses.
There are some
out
good
there that are,
businesses.
doing well and professional.
I think a lot of it goes back to accountability.
Right.
We've got to hold each other accountable. We've got to challenge each other. We've got to call people out, call each other out when we're doing something wrong, and go back to that sense of community.
And I think the real thing, we have to be able to say, a lot of these people are first-time business owners too.
Yeah.
So you might, a lot of, where other businesses are learning, we're still
Yeah.
learning. So we got to give them some type of credit or leeway.
Yeah,
I guess,
but then
or
I
not.
think part of it is that we've got to invest in each other.
But there's no
You know?
leeway for integrity and
that's
character.
true. Yeah,
There
that's
is no leeway for that.
That's
It's
true.
leeway for, okay, if you make a mistake, fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that this the right way it's supposed to be done. That's not what I ordered.
right. Yeah, we just
So you need to put a new
gotta
class
do
on there.
better. we can't function like Soul Plane. We can't. We
Might
just
be able to get away with it.
That's so true though. We can't function like Soul Plane, but
we just got to do better.
But it sounds like to me, soul plate is the norm now.
Oh my God.
Well, Soul Plane
I
in the
can
White
tell you
House
all
because
about-
we ain't talking about Donald
Exactly.
Trump and the fiasco we
See?
have as a president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And him rolling back. Let's talk about that. Rolling back years and years of Obama doing the right thing. What do you think about that, Carl, being a lawmaker?
Yeah,
Is it just a phase? Is he gonna go
Carl
away?
is shaking his head.
Y'all see shaking his head.
I mean, this guy is absolutely out of his mind.
He's nuts.
And
Yeah.
and
He really
anybody
is.
that could suggest that what he's doing is proper, the White House have been totally turned upside down. The prestige, the respect, the honor of the White House, the presidency is turned on its back because of this idiot.
And that is
it's
exactly what he is.
unfortunate.
He's an
It's
idiot.
the truth.
It's absolutely
I mean,
insane.
people think we're a joke.
You can't lie about something and then make these things up and then tweet about it. What president tweets
Yeah.
Trump.
at 12
Yeah.
midnight, can't spell stuff, and then tell you, figure it out what I was trying to say?
Yeah, it's ignorant.
That's insane.
Only people who tweet at
Ignorant.
night are people who like really turned up or drunk or something like that.
So
He must be on something. He has to be because this man is not normal.
Ignorant.
No, it's
ignorant.
and that's and it's laughable, but it's absolutely
No, it's
it's
asinine. is
insane.
what it
Yeah,
is.
It's
exactly,
ridiculous.
exactly. It's
ridiculous.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And to take anything that he says for face value, you have to be literally out of your everlasting mind to believe
Yeah.
that this guy is ever going to be a good president. He would go down in the history as the worst president
Oh, I believe that.
of our time.
I believe that.
And no one can come worse than he is after him.
Well, I don't know. We said that about George Bush. Is it George W. Bush?
Yeah,
We said it
that's
about
the
George
son,
Bush.
yeah. Well,
and so we thought he was horrible, but he's actually a good president.
Yeah, we
Compared to what we have,
President's idiot. He's actually
can we go back to him at least?
Can we go back to
we
wow?
have a fool.
Yeah. So do you have plans of running anytime again, or you want to go back into that world? What do you?
No, I'm.
Carmen can take care of your campaign. She
Yeah,
can, man.
well, I have with my constituency, because I'm still with my constituency, I'm there,
Okay.
and so a lot of times they're asking, we need you. There's legislation on the book, the Karl Washington School Safety and Violence Prevention Act.
Really?
Put about $100 million in our school for conflict resolution. Has been reintroduced about 4 times now since I've been gone.
Oh, wow.
Because it's been effective.
Tell us more about that. It's,
What happened was back in '98, I introduced a bill to address school violence, and it was put on the back burner until we had the Columbine shooting. And then once that became big, the state of California, the governor's office, they all called me about midnight saying, we need your bill to do something about this violence. And that's how it became the Karl Washington School Safety and Violence Prevention Act.
That's a
Wow.
blessing. And thank
Because
God
it was
you had
my
the
district.
foresight
I
to do that.
represented a district where this was happening, and other parts of our state didn't have that problem.
And when it
Yeah.
starts to happen to them, then
That's
they get worse.
All
There
of a
you go.
sudden now,
Exactly.
let's call him.
Because
Yeah.
think about it, with the crack epidemic, we were kids. We were not really
Exactly.
around,
Yeah.
but with the crack was really bad in the African American community. Now it's the opioids.
Oh, yeah.
Now their
Yeah.
children are dropping left and right, and now they
Exactly.
Yeah,
want
they
help.
are.
But what
Exactly.
about, and Felicia, you probably remember this too back in the day. What about the black people who were complaining about
When it
their
invaded
kids
our
being on
communities,
drugs
yeah.
when we
Yeah.
were kids? So it really was, so what? I mean, what do you think about that now with the opioids? And now they're trying to get bills introduced, which they're
Right.
actually putting into place.
I mean, I think it's a good thing that it's happening, but I think it's unfortunate. It just goes back to that whole thing of we don't matter. So when it's happening to us, it's not a big deal. Let's just throw it under the rug. But now that we have an issue with it, we need to do something. So to me, it just shows more and more the point we've been making the entire time we've been here, which is we don't
Black
matter.
Lives Matter, so you need to start treating us right.
And
because-
then not only that, it goes back to the disparity of a crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. How you get convicted,
Yeah.
if you're caught with rocks, because we know who have more of the rocks, that's, the poor, black, neighborhood
Yeah.
folks, and then the powder
So
cocaine
you get
are
more
the rich
time
folks.
for that, yeah.
So you get more time for the crack than you do for
Why
the
is
powder.
that? So I was reading an article the other day. This man
Racism.
had-
It's called racism.
Racism in America. Don't feel free. Y'all, a man had
Yeah.
8 pallets of cocaine. The man got 2 months in jail. A brother had like a dime bag of weed and got like some years. I'm
Yes.
like, this is straight up racism.
And a lot of times you'll find that these first-time offenders, see, sometimes
Yeah, the first-time offenders,
they raise the flag on somebody who's been convicted. He was arrested for robbing a liquor store. Then he got arrested for drinking and driving. And then they say, plus he did this. But what about the first-time
The first-time
offenders who get
offenders.
caught with a piece of crack, a $10 piece of crack? And if he don't get any jail time, guess what happens? He get 10 years of probation.
Yeah.
That's still a conviction. How do you live for 10 years without doing something wrong?
Right, because think about it, you can't get a job.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
can't do anything. Or a lot of brothers give up.
Yes.
It's hard to have a little faith when you've been through the system.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The system will kill you. It'll pretty much
Absolutely.
destroy you.
When you go back to what is the young man's name? It's so sad. They just did Khalif.
Oh, Khalif
Khalif
Browder?
Browder.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he had
He
an
killed
awful
himself.
experience. He
Yeah.
killed himself.
Yeah.
But
And-
look what he went through.
Yeah.
He was what was it, Rutgers
Rutgers in New York.
in New York? He was in that
Rikers. He was at Rikers.
Rikers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he didn't do anything wrong. And he was a child.
He was a child, and they left him in jail. And
Yeah.
left him,
And
he
most
killed
of the time, he was by himself. What do you call it, Carl? When you're locked up, when you're...
Confinement.
Yeah, he was in confinement most of
Solitary
the time.
Solitary
Yeah.
confinement.
Yeah, And so you go through that mental process of it's a horrible thing, and a lot of our brothers and sisters do that. And JC's doing something now. He did it for Father's Day. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Oh, I saw
Where
that.
The bail he got. He bailed out a lot of African Americans.
Fathers for Father's Day, yeah.
And the thing about it is, it could be like $500 or something like that, and your family just doesn't have the money to get you out of jail.
Exactly.
And it's some small things, and they won't let you out your own recognizance or whatever. So he did a great job of doing that. A lot of people, they leave us in jail and you're there for a long
Yeah.
period of time.
And then just
Well,
you
that's
lose
what happened
everything.
with Khalif. Nobody ever did anything, and all this time was going by, and he was just in prison. He
can't do
couldn't
that.
even. No one would even help him.
Right, and
He was
that's
just
sad.
stuck.
Yeah, and then listen how this stuff is systematically moving from our schools, where now they're charging 7 and 8 year old little kids for doing something, and they put them in a juvenile system or something like that, and then through the juvenile system they take a record, and it follows them the rest of their life.
And that's horrible.
You know, juvenile hall is nothing but incubators for them to hold out until they get adults, so they can send them to prison.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to understand that this is the system that has been designed. So when you go down to the school boards and you think everybody like you and everybody's clapping, then you're not raising the right issues, because somebody shouldn't be mad at you if you're talking about the right stuff.
Absolutely.
School boards, city councils, board of supervisors, state legislative offices, Congress, wherever it is, somebody should be talking about these issues that are important to us as a people.
Absolutely.
And that's not happening.
And that's what we're doing here. We're talking about it. Hopefully we get some solutions from it. Hopefully somebody's listening and somebody have some type of...
Hopefully there is. I know there's a Create the Change meeting Tuesday night at 6:30.
I know you mentioned it to me, Create the Change. Yeah, go ahead.
If we can maybe start there.
So it's the grocery outlet in Compton. We were talking about black businesses earlier. Grocery outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys been there?
Yeah, I haven't been, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, so it's a black-owned grocery store in Compton. Stuff like that we need. I'll drive to Compton and go to a grocery store.
Exactly.
Even though it's a grocery store right here by my house. I'm in Lamar Park, but I'd rather go to Compton, support the sister, so know she's going to get that.
Yeah, Kia Patterson.
Kia Patterson.
It's her name. Wonderful, wonderful person. And I want to go check the store out.
Yeah, so we're going to... you're going to finally create the change?
Yeah, I'm getting the Create the Change information.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break right quick, and we'll be right back with Phil and Friends with Karl and Carmen here in the studio. And we're back, UNITY with Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
We'll tell you guys about this Social Justice Committee meeting that's going to be Tuesday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. Email createthechange@gmail.com. createthechange@gmail.com. Who's actually doing this, Carmen?
Kevin Wilbeck. He's one of the assistant pastors at One Church.
Okay, yeah, I used to go to One Church.
I worked on a few things with him, and he actually started this last summer following the shooting of Philando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you guys going to go check that out?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So maybe roll through and just see. Maybe we need to just take up and have some dialogue about it and see what we can do.
It's all what Karl said. We got to organize and have dialogue about it. So final thoughts, you guys. Karl, let me start with you. What do you think we need to do? I know we talked about it all day. What are your final thoughts on everything we talked about today? What do you want to tell the people?
I think we need to pray. We really need to pray. We need to bombard heaven about this issue. And then we just need to do the work ourselves, too. We've got to do our part. And like we said, commit to this.
Right.
And realize that it's something we can't say on Monday, oh, we're excited. And then by Friday, the fire is died. And then we're done. You know, we gotta channel that passion that people like Martin Luther King had, which was, for this I'll live and for this I'll die, and be willing to die for it even. And just stop realize that this can be your child, this can be your father, this could be your grandfather, we gotta think outside of ourselves. It could be any of us.
It could be any
and
of
it's
us.
not right. Realize it's an issue and commit to it. Challenge each other. Link up and have some accountability partners. Look out for each other.
No parent should have to go through this.
Right.
No parent should ever have to put their kid in the ground because of some injustice.
And like we were saying a few minutes ago, when you sit here and really discuss this and think about it, there are so many cases. It's ongoing. And like Karl said earlier, what about the cases that we don't even know about? What about the things that have been brushed under the rug and we don't know those names of those people who have been killed by cops? It's not okay.
Right.
We need to make a change. We need to commit to it. And just make it happen.
Make it happen. Karl, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I again want to attach myself to the comments of Carmen, and again, I can't get away from the fact that we have to get convictions on these cops.
Yeah,
and that has to be at the beginning of all of our conversations. Everyone has to have this in their mind, that these cops have to get convicted for what they've committed, the crimes that they've committed, because these are crimes. They are murders. They are murders. And what this gentleman did to this young man sitting in the car, it's just no way you can address it. It is what it is, and that should have been a conviction.
Right.
And hopefully the prosecution will appeal or whatever that can be done through that process. And again, I heard the pain in the mother, and it is true. if it's not me, who's next? And that's where we're at. We're at that point now where we have to say, whatever the structure has to be put in place, we have to come together. And there's no big I's and little U's. No one's going to get an award for you coming up with the idea of how do we get convictions from these cops. We just have to come up with one and make sure that it stick and that these cops pay the price for what they're doing to our people.
That's the only way it's going to stop.
Right. Got to have some kind of accountability.
Because if you can do something and there's no consequence, you'll continue to do it.
And they will continue to do it. They're going to continue to do it and continue to do it.
Well, and time doesn't even allow me to talk about, as a legislator, I chaired the Public Safety Committee for 5 years, and I almost rewrote the penal codes in terms of punishment and crimes against elder, children, things like that. But there's also these gangs that are set up in law enforcement, and they've been exposed before. Yeah, they have some gangs that have been exposed. But these cops organize themselves. And those are the type of things that have to come to the forefront, and has to be discussions. But we have to get convictions. And I know people saying, well, how do we do it? Right. I don't have all the answers, but if we come together, we have to find a formula that will convict these officers what they're doing.
At some point, we got to say, look, insert cuss word. You can't do this no more.
Yeah.
Right.
We're tired of it.
Exactly.
We've been praying for about 500 years.
Exactly.
And I love Jesus.
Yes.
It's like, faith without works is dead.
Absolutely.
So.
You got to do something. But we have been doing stuff. And we have had the faith, and we've been working. Like you said earlier. What's the representative from Georgia? Congressman Lewis.
Yes.
Congressman Lewis. Martin Luther King. People have been fighting and dying for us for years.
Yes.
And we can't seem to get ahead. And it's something that we need to do. We need to really make it happen. I mean, Barack Obama was the president of the United States.
And it's still
look how they treated him.
Yeah.
So we have to do something. I mean, we have to do some real action. I mean, it's almost like having a Malcolm X moment.
And let me just say one more
you
thing. Participation can't be once it happened to you.
Right, exactly.
It has to be before it happened to you.
Exactly. Like you
and
said,
that's what happens, when you see sons or daughters killed by gangs, and you look in the room and you see mothers in there. There's some fathers that should be in there also.
Absolutely.
And then it should be mothers in there whose sons are still alive that I want to come out and support you so my son can live.
Right.
And I think that's what the cry is being from all these organizations. Come out and support us before it happens to you.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was great.
We'd love to come back again.
Yeah, please do. I would love to have you guys back. I really would. Well, you've been listening to Phil and Friends, sponsored by The Plug Report. I'm here every Sunday at 6 p.m. We're going to go live next month with TV after I run a couple of laps. A lot of laps.
We're
going to be live so you can actually see us in the studio.
Come to the stairs.
We'll go to the stairs. Let's go to the stairs, Carl. We're going to go to the stairs and run. But thank you so much for listening to us. Sundays at 6 p.m. through 7. It's Phil and Friends. I'm here, and I'll see you next week.